Classic Restos, proudly brought to you by Shannons. Sign up to become a member of the Shannons Club. Kenworth Trucks Australia. Dasmac, shipping your classic car from the world to your doorstep. And the Intershed. Like to see a little Moonshine runner story? As I continued across parts of the United States for 2025, and a big thanks to Shannons, well, come with me on this week's Classic Restos Stateside. Almost 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Time to lose the long sleeve shirt. We're in Sparta, Kentucky, outside of the Neely Family Distillery. How cool is this? Just over there is the Kentucky Speedway. Now have a go at the piece of road that's put in just to get you to the Speedway. It's like a piece of unused highway. For years now, I've wanted to come to the United States, get into the southern states, and catch up with some good old boys that used to run Shine back in the day. It's getting tough now because a lot of these guys have left us. They've passed on. Okay, well, I'll tell it to you then. The Neely Family Distillery here before us is a small family-owned and operated venue that's located in the rolling hills of the Kentucky Bluegrass. And the Neely family has been distilling and bootlegging illegally in the mountains of eastern Kentucky for 11 generations until 2015. That's when 10th generation Roy Neely and 11th generation Royce Neeley cleaned things up a tad and took the family business and made it legal for the first time ever. Now, Roy has hand-built this state-of-the-art distillery himself here in Sparta, Kentucky, and he is the lead distiller and possibly the youngest distillery owner in the world. Roy makes his spirits the historic way with old family mash recipes using pot stills, cypress fermenters, sweet mash, only the finest in local grains, the freshest Kentucky limestone water, and the Neely family yeast strand which is propagated at the distillery. All of Roy's spirits are non-chilled filtered, preserving the unique natural flavour of each one. The Neely Moonshine recipe is still revered as the best in the eastern Kentucky mountains. Roy and Royce uphold that same quality in the authentic spirits they distill today. The only difference is now they pay the taxes, so that keeps a few of the lawmen and some people from the government happy as well. The Neely family is devoted to honouring the craft of their forefathers through the production of high-quality spirits, and the family is literally distilling history every day. Through this devotion, Royce believes the family is distilling some of the best Kentucky bourbon whiskey in the world. But back in the day, the Shine had to be run. Pleased to meet you, Royce.
Nice to meet you, Fletch.
Absolutely.
Glad to have you here.
Come a long way to see you.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
Wow, down here in the Bluegrass of Kentucky.
Down here in the Kentucky Bluegrass.
How cool are you?
Well, I guess cool. I appreciate that.
The history, it's just so different. You know,
Yes, sir.
I mean, it's something that not a lot of countries can share.
I grew up in a moonshining family, and I actually grew up about 2 hours away from where a lot of the moonshining took place at, which was down in Owsley County, Kentucky. In the mountains. So my dad moved up here and started a construction company, but we would always go back to the mountains for family reunions, for Christmas, and when I get down there around the family, they'd all talk about, you know, this is where this guy still was, this is where this killing took place at, and I fell, you know, become fascinated and fell in love with it that way. And then when I got to college, I started moonshining, allegedly, distilling illegally, and when I graduated, that's when we built Neely Family Distillery today.
And I'm intrigued with the illegal until 2015. Like
That's right.
2015, it doesn't seem that long ago.
It does not.
So you guys were operating underneath the radar for all that time prior. It's interesting and really cool because we're all from the old country.
That's
and
right.
Some came here, some went to Australia. And that's why eastern seaboard of the United States, a lot closer to Europe.
Oh,
so,
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, very, Scots-Irish settlers, descendants, and, I guess that's probably why you have so much in common today.
Absolutely. Now, your great-great-great-grandfather, the 1740 gentleman that came across, now on the boat, he brought a copper pot with him, right? And
That's the family story. Obviously we don't have, but that's just the story that's been passed down through the family, was that he brought his stills with him when he came over
I
from
could just
Ireland.
imagine the talk on the boat back in 1740. It's like, hey, dude, what's that? You know?
And it would have looked, Fletch, I was telling you about that old still we got over there from 1811. That pot would have looked like that old still that's over there.
When they got here, now taxes in the north on alcohol.
Yeah,
so they moved south to escape the taxes, right?
That's right. So they get over here, and I had two forefathers that fought in the American Revolution. So generation 1 over here and 2 both fought in the Revolution.
Yeah.
And they're in Pennsylvania at this time.
Yeah.
So, and they have a legal distillery in Pennsylvania called it's the Neely Thompson grist mill. My family had actually married into a guy who had this existing distillery.
Yeah.
So they're there doing their thing till about the 1830s. And at that time that's when the whiskey rebellion occurs. So we just fought a war over taxes, and then the first thing that happens is to pay for that war, they put a tax on whiskey. So they throw a fit. Washington has to bring troops up to Pennsylvania to settle it, and a lot of those Scots-Irish settlers then left Pennsylvania and went to, at the time Kentucky was the, that was the new frontier.
Yeah.
It was a lawless area. So the way the kind of illegal distribution network works is you have a moonshiner, right? And that moonshiner has a territory.
Yep.
All right? And he sells to bootleggers.
Right.
So you don't do all of it because you want to keep it separated. That way the law, it's harder for the law to catch you. And in the intermediates, you have runners, moonshine runners, bootleggers, right? And that's where the hot rods come into place. So they're running from the moonshine still to the bootleggers, which is like an illegal liquor store.
Yeah.
And these bootleggers aren't just selling moonshine, by the way. They're selling Fall City beer in a can. They're selling Four Roses bourbon. They're like an illegal liquor store because the area is dry. You can't have a legal liquor store.
Right.
And that's why even after Prohibition, when the rest of the country went wet, the South stayed dry.
That would have been an interesting time. Imagining, say, around the 50s and 60s, things would have really started ramping up.
That's right, yeah. And that's, like I said, so the South stays dry, population's increasing, and you got hot rods to be able to run them. That's really what develops that entire hot rodding culture and what eventually becomes NASCAR.
Yeah.
We're literally a stone's throw away from the Kentucky Speedway, the NASCAR track here. So, and I did that strategically. I wanted to be set up, it only makes sense, right? The still's next to where you essentially have legal bootleggers racing today. Because that's where NASCAR was formed. It was formed off bootleggers.
Alcohol and race car fans.
That's right, it just goes together. But that as well. But it was formed in the South from moonshiners who were hiring bootleggers to race, and they would pick the fastest one out, and that's who they would, let run their stuff.
Because Richard Petty's father, he ran Shine,
He
didn't
did, and Junior Johnson.
Yeah.
He was a felon for moonshining. Wow. You have to think, Fletch, there wasn't a way to make a living in the mountains at the time. You really only had two ways, and they were both tough. You're either on the illegal alcohol sale of it, or you were on the working in the coal mines, and both sides were just as dangerous. But you could make so much money from bootlegging. That's what a lot of guys turned to. But it got violent. Like I said, you have a territory, so you don't want another moonshiner moving in. Yeah, trying to sell to your bootleggers.
You're not going to cross into their territory, and they're not going to cross.
And that's
into
why
yours.
when the Allen family crossed into my family's territory, they butted heads. You know, the Neelys were expanding. They were, it happened in the early 1900s. There were a lot of killings.
That's really interesting. The Allens, are they still around in the county today?
No, they killed every one of them.
Wow.
I'm the only generation in my family that hasn't killed someone yet, and I'm proud of that. I'm hoping to keep that from happening. But don't come messing around.
My life is hot rods, designing them, building them, and racing them. If you're into rods or customs, you'll know what I mean. It's all about passion, purity, and soul.
Customs and hot rods like the SoCal Roadster is what we do.
And insurance for cars like ours is what Shannons do.
Rods, customs, and even your daily drive. Call Shannons on 134646.
Shannons, insurance for motoring enthusiasts.
Like us.
Have a classic? It just has to be insured with Shannons. Why not? pick up the phone and give Shannons a call for a quote and a chat on 134646. And don't forget too that the Shannons Club awaits you. For more information, visit shannons.com.au and access Australia's largest automotive online hub. Royce, we're outside one of the Shine cars. Who drove this Chrysler?
Yeah, so this is a 41 Chrysler with a straight 8 in it, and it come from Owsley County. So like I said, we're up in Sparta today. Owsley's about 2.5 hours away, and my Uncle Ed owns a gun and pawn shop there. And this car come through his pawn shop. So Uncle Ed is actually my uncle who got me into building old cars. So he used to haul Moonshine back in the day, but this car come through his pawn shop, and he called me and said, you need to come down and buy this. I know the old man who owned it, and this one hauled Moonshine, needs to be outside your place for people to look at. You really had two different types of cars. You had the inconspicuous one, where you're going to try to get the law to leave you alone, and you had the souped up one, where you're going to try to take off. So you had two different styles of cars, but we'll go through the modifications of both.
Right.
So one modification, not all of them had, is bullet holes. This one's got some bullet holes.
Yeah, I noticed that.
First thing you want to do is your suspension. Now, either one of those styles of cars, you're going to need good suspension on it. If you're inconspicuous, if you're trying to get the law to leave you alone, you don't want it to squat with a load.
Right.
Because then if they see a squatted car going through town, they're going to know it's loaded down with booze.
So how much weight are we talking?
Man, I mean, you got to think a gallon of Moonshine probably weighs 5-6 pounds a gallon.
Yeah.
So actually it weighs about 8 pounds a gallon, so just a little bit less than water.
Yeah.
So I mean, hell, you get 50, 100 gallons back in there, you're talking, 800 pounds.
All Shine runners, they didn't get out there and just go flat out all the time.
That's
it was
right.
Just when the law was over.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't want to go flat out all the time.
Right.
For the most part, you didn't want to be chased at all.
Yeah.
You just wanted to go make your load, collect your money, and come back.
The early cop cars, flathead 6-cylinder engines.
That's right.
The Shine boys were running the V8s.
That's right.
The early guys in the cop cars, they just could not keep up with the Shine guys, which was interesting because then the cops started buying V8s for their cop cars.
That's right. And then it became even more important to do some more modifications to your hot rod.
To make it quicker again.
That's right. So one of the old modifications they would do is Ford put out a tractor the same year they put out the flathead V8 in the car. Right, so the tractor had this V8 also, but it had much bigger and thicker heads on it.
Yeah, right.
So they would take the heads off the tractor and put them on the cars. And you know this, that's where your power is made at, your torque.
Bigger heads, let the thing breathe.
That's right, and then they wanted to soup up the carburetors.
Yeah.
So they were looking for 4 barrels or like 3 deuces on the intake, to put, but they wanted to increase the jet size to where it could shoot more fuel to it.
Now I heard also, getting back to these stories, that you boys knew every dirt road.
That's it.
There wouldn't be, it's like a fox knowing the property better than the farmer does.
There's all kinds of tricks these guys would use, but I'll tell you one, Fletch. So one thing that they would do is when they were driving to their Moonshine still, one thing my family liked to do is they would be going down a dirt road, right? And my grandpa would do donuts and do donuts and do donuts. You know why he did that, Fletch?
Make the dust.
No. He made circles in the road. That way, if he came back, he could see if somebody drove through it.
Oh, wow.
And that would let him know. They would leave money at the steel site, because you're not only worried about cops finding you, hunters or anybody could walk up. You don't want nobody to know where you're at. Now, like I said, Fletch, and I didn't want to restore this car, Fletch. I wanted to leave it alone for people to see it.
Yeah, I'm glad. I'm glad you're doing that.
But you can see, I mean,
modern
day, one of our modern conveniences with cars is we don't have the trunk space like they used to have.
Yeah, right. But that said, you can fit a lot in here.
You can fit a ton in this car. That's what I'm saying. I mean, these old cars had big trunks.
Yeah, that's a good area, isn't it?
Yep.
Do you ever have an emotional side when you think back of your grandparents and what they went through and being proud of being in the family, the history and everything?
Absolutely.
That's an emotional side?
Oh, of course. I'm very proud of it. The family's very proud of it. I mean, we're so thrilled to take something that was, at times very negative. I mean, going to jail and my family members being killed, and to take something like that and be able to turn it now into a major positive. We're making a living off of it. We're on the Bourbon Trail. Like I said, family's just thrilled by that. So Fletch, we're in the gift shop now, but we got a little video that rolls all the time, and I want you to check out. That's my grandpa there, Fletch. He passed away about 1.5 years ago. I really wish you guys could have met him. He was a character. He signed bottles, and he was a staple in the distillery. So Fletch, I'm going to walk you through and just show you what a general tour at Neely Family Distillery looks like. And it all starts right here in our tour room. So we watch our video of the family history, which is given by me. And then you can come over and look at all of my old family's distilling artifacts. So here you got my lineage, 11 generations down. These are the old guns that was used in some of the feuds and the shootouts. That rifle's got 9 notches behind it. 3 of those are my family members. And then this was my great-grandfather's pistol. 6 generations of Neelys have held that gun. This right here is my great-grandfather's still. This one's over 120 years old, Fletch. He built this back in the 1920s, and this one's never made a legal drop of alcohol in its life. This old still here was built 1811. It's the oldest registered still that's still physically around in the United States. It's a really cool piece. We're glad to have it. This is really cool, Fletch. So this car here, this old 56 Bel Air, belonged, and these were popular cars, by the way. And you know why? Because of a huge trunk. I mean, you could fit a ton of cases of moonshine in one of these old Bel Airs. But this belonged to my great uncle McKinley Neely. So McKinley bootlegged in it, and then he sold it to my uncle Jim Campbell. And then Jim Campbell restored it, which is that's what it looked like when he started the restoration. That's what it looked like after it. And then Jim actually ended up selling this car. It's in Australia somewhere. We don't know where it's at, but that's kind of neat. That's some of my family that's out in the woods, so you can see what they'd look like when they was out there. But this is kind of a walkthrough that we do. There's your old flathead Ford V8. But this shows how Moonshine contributed to NASCAR. So there's some of those old guys racing, some of the bootleggers. And then here it is, Daytona Beach with the founding of NASCAR, 1948. This is our trophy case here. We are proud to say we are the most awarded craft distillery in Kentucky that actually distills their own products, and we're really proud of that, but we've won some major awards at this point. So these are some empty barrels, and we're gonna refill these with American single malt, is actually what we're gonna do with those. So we've already dumped the bourbon out of them, but that's what we do, we reuse our barrels for different products. That's our boiler room, Fletch. And this is really the heart of the distillery. So this makes all the steam that powers the stills, allows us to clean everything, steam clean it, and cooks all of the mash. That's our distillery cat, Thumper. He's about as popular as the whiskey is. So Fletch, this is where our process starts. So we'll bring the grain in from our local farmers, put it up in the silos, and then it comes through here where we weigh it to get our correct recipe out. It goes through this seed cleaner. That cleans out what's called the chaff, so stuff we don't want in our mashes. And then it goes over and runs through our hammer mill, where it mills it. Like I said, we do a much more coarse grind. A lot of distilleries do a fine grind. They get a higher yield from it. We like a coarser grind because it creates more flavor. After it mills that grain, it goes up the auger and drops in the cookers, and I'll show you that process next. So there's that auger, Fletch. It's bringing it up. And if you come up here and take a look, you can see this mash cooking. So we're actually cooling it down right now. So it's already been up to boiling temperature. We've got limestone water, we've got corn, and we've got our domino cane sugar. Once we cool that mash down after we're done cooking it, we pump it over and it goes into these cypress fermenters over here. That's the next step. It's gonna set in these fermenters here for around 7 days. This is where the yeast is gonna eat the sugar and turn it into alcohol. So essentially what we're doing is we're making what we call distiller's beer or sour mash. So these are all different days of fermentation. This one being the youngest, then the next, and this one over here, as you can see, is really flattened out like a flat beer. I know off the taste and the smell when that beer is ready to go. So now we'll pump this out and it'll go into that still there where we're gonna take it through a triple pot distillation. We make Kentucky's only 100% triple pot distilled bourbon. So it'll go through that still, and then it'll finish up in Old Brownie, our 100% copper pot still built by Vendome in Louisville. We distill it again, it comes up and it runs out of this worm. Clear as can be if you want to look inside of here. And that's about 130 proof, what we call white dog. So that's the whiskey straight off the still. You gonna try it, Fletch? Pretty damn good. Roughly about 128 to 130 proof. So if it's moonshine, we go on and bottle it just like that, right off the still. If it's gonna become bourbon, if we're making a bourbon recipe, then we take the white dog off the still, we cut it, so we reduce the proof, adding limestone water to it, from 128 down to 105 proof. That's where we like to enter the barrel at. And then we enter it into that new charred oak barrel, and that's when it officially becomes bourbon. This is an 1890s absinthe still. So I'm the only guy in the world that uses moonshine as the base to make my absinthe with. We are now the most awarded absinthe in North America. It's been a huge deal for us. But I was able to buy this old still out of Belgium. So this one was built in the 1890s in France, and then it was used in Switzerland, and then it was sold to a distillery in Belgium, and I was able to buy it from them after they went under. So this is our yeast room called a Donna room. That, inside of that copper jug, is my family's yeast strand. So that's our starter that we can pull from at any time to use throughout the year. And we go collect in the early spring. That's the time the yeast is the most viable. We call this our mini rick house, Fletch. So this is where we keep our smaller barrels at. So we do 53-gallon barrels and 25-gallon barrels. So there's roughly about 500 25-gallon barrels in here. So Fletch, after we reduced that proof down on that whiskey to 105 proof, we entered into that barrel. We roll that barrel right out here, and that's 53 gallons in that barrel, and we put it in our rick house. So here we are, Fletch. We're in what I think is one of the coolest aspects of any distillery, the rick house. This one here holds 1,200 barrels once we get it completely full, and we're filling up this side right now. We went out there and looked at the rick house where the barrels age at. So once they're done aging, which for us can be anywhere between 4 to 9 years, we bring the barrels back in, we dump the whiskey out of the barrels, which is literally called dumping the barrel, and then we bring it over here and we bottle it at cask strength. This is one of my employees, John, and he's going through the bottling process. So we hand bottle and hand label every single bottle of our products at Neeley Family Distillery. And John is hand labeling a cigar barrel batch, which is neat. So this was a bourbon that I designed to be paired with cigars.
When I was a kid, I loved cars, still do. The 57 Cadillac Eldorado Brougham was the most advanced car in the world. Cost more than a Rolls. Hand-built with a stainless steel roof, cruise control, electric seats, and would you believe, air suspension. American iron. It's a passion Shannons understand. That's why they insure my daily drive, the caddy, my bike, even the house.
Get a quote online or call 13 46 46. Shannons, insurance for motoring enthusiasts.
Your story began in 1971. It's part of an endless tapestry that tells the story of our nation. It connects innovators to artisans, forests to houses, from the largest of operations to the smallest of outcomes. It's heritage. It's a legacy.
So this is my 1970 Chevelle. I completely restored this one from the ground up right here in the garage, and my uncle helped me do it. Tried to keep it as factory as I could. I did do, on all my old cars, I like to put things like, this has got QA1 coilovers all the way around it. I always put serpentine belts. This one's got a 5-speed Tremec in it. Motor on this one, so it's a 454. It's not the original motor to the car, but it is a 71 454 that's been bored over, so it's actually a 468. So kind of a cool thing about the 70 Chevelle, one of the reasons why I wanted one, so my grandpa bootlegged in a 70 Chevelle. And it was blue, it was an LS6, but he called it the Blue Goose. And he liked the Chevelle, he liked the LS6 because at the time he thought it was the fastest car out there. Also got a hell of a trunk in them. So Fletch, this is probably the most valuable car that I've got. So this is a 1971 Oldsmobile 442, and it's a real W30. So this one does have the numbers matching motor. Yep, this is numbers matching motor. That's the original W30 intake. It's got the original W30 carb. It's got the H heads, which were only on the 71 W30. Yep, this one's an automatic, so we were just talking, Fletch. 4-speed, 4-barrel, and dual exhaust, what 442 stands for. I think it's one of the most iconic muscle cars ever made, and you just don't see very many of them. That's what really gravitated me towards wanting to find one.
Hello, Fletch. So I am Royce's wife, Rebekah. I try to keep him in line as best as I can. And you already saw a bunch of his other cars, and he talked about some, but this one is my car.
Absolutely. What's the story here, Rebekah?
So this is a pretty cool one. So my grandfather, who passed away the end of 2023, he bought this car from the showroom floor. It's a 1969 Ford Mustang. But he bought this, there was about 200 miles on it. A school teacher had bought it originally, and she said it was too sporty. And so she returned it back, and my grandfather bought it off the showroom floor. We actually have all the original paperwork, which is super cool. We have the engine, which still turns. It's a 351 Windsor, but my mother learned how to drive in this car. and she's kept it in the family for forever. And so finally she said, I think it's your turn to take it and get it restored. We're keeping this color because we have to. I think this is the coolest color of a Mustang. Royce is going to be doing a lot of different upgrades to it, obviously, but it's really cool that it's only been one family owner, really. It was the Zillies, the Boltons, and now it's going to be the Neelys, but all just one bloodline, and we're really pumped up about it.
You're very lucky. Tell us the feeling. Share with us, what's it like to own a distillery?
Oh God, it is a lot of work, but we love what we do, and we love sharing what we do with everybody. And that's kind of the biggest part. And when people say they love it and they bring their families down and they drive, we had a guy drove down from Minnesota just to pick up one bottle. I mean, it's really about community for us. And same with the cars, you know, the cars, the distillery, it's all the community that comes along with it. And like, you can have different views and opinions on everything, but you come together when it comes to both bourbon and cars.
I opened up the interview by saying, pretty early in the interview, I said, how cool are you? And that was a mark of respect for where you are now with all of this family history.
I appreciate it.
That is one of the coolest things that you have as your legacy here.
Thank you, Fletch. I think that I appreciate you saying that. And it's something that I get asked this a lot, like, what would your family members that are dead, what would they think about it? And I hope they would think it was cool as well. And I think they would.
Well, they would. I would imagine they'd walk in and they'd just look at you and say, wow, look what you've done.
My family members that are still alive that make it illegally are proud as can be that we have a family name on the Bourbon Trail. You know, that's a big deal here in Kentucky to be on the trail.
That's wonderful. You may have only seen one ex-Shine car in this episode, but that's okay, because today we have represented in tribute all of the Shine vehicles that were used decades ago, which are now our sought-after classics. It was wonderful working here today with Royce and Rebekah, a long-standing family tradition dating back to the 1700s, a liquor maker, guns, and fast cars. I hope you enjoyed it. And there's going to be more content coming your way on next week's show as I continue to cover parts of the United States for 2025, and it's a big thanks to Shannons. Until next week, no matter where you're watching Classic Restos from, please ride and drive safe. I'm Fletch. Thanks for watching.
Classic Restos, proudly brought to you by Shannons. Sign up to become a member of the Shannons Club. Kenworth Trucks Australia. Dasmac, shipping your classic car from the world to your doorstep. And the Intershed.